Whether you're helping an end user, troubleshooting a server, or responding to an incident, in IT, we rely on accurate and current inventory data. We'll find out how Tanium solves the problem of stale and incomplete hardware and software inventory. Welcome back to Go-Tanium Tech Talks. I'm your host, Ashley McGlone, and today we have a really good overview for a classic. I shouldn't say classic, but it's kind of now it's a classic. I say that because Tanium's asset module is so fundamental to the value that people get out of Tanium, and so many people use it today. I can remember when it was born. I remember when it became a module when we released it. So in that way, it's a little bit of a classic, but it's a tried and true, proven in enterprises all over the world. And today we're going to focus on the asset module and how Tanium helps you with that stale hardware software inventory that you struggle with. When you're trying to look up a machine and you don't know what's on it currently, that's going to be a roadblock to even getting your job done, right? So Tanium is going to accelerate what you can do in everyday IT ops and security just by giving you that complete and accurate inventory of all your assets. So that's what we're here to talk about today. And our guest today, I've invited Tom to join us. He is the product manager for the asset module. So we're going straight to the source today. So Tom, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ashley.
How long have you been with Tanium, Tom?
Coming up on 2 years. November 30th will be my 2-year mark. Asset was actually the first module that I was given, that and another one. So I've been working on Asset for the entire time through all of its trials, tribulations, and new features that we're putting in.
All right. Tell me a little bit about your background. How did you get into asset management?
So many years ago, I worked as a event management specialist for a enterprise customer, and from there they were doing CMDB. If you don't know what you have, then you can't really do a whole lot of work on that. So we were trying to do real-time CMDB. We were trying to do event management. And then over the years, I just worked with multiple customers through their ITSM solutions, through consulting engagements, and kind of just grew into it. It was one of those things that it wasn't like I planned to go into asset management in the beginning, but over the years, it just kind of became a specialty.
Now, when I hear event management, I think of like, how do you run a conference? I'm thinking you mean something different.
So there's two types of event management. One that most people are familiar with is like the SIEM style, where you have threat response, security event management. Everybody knows about that. That's where you send all of your information. The other side is the operational event management. So thinking of performance metrics being sent to various SIEM-like products. They're usually called event managers, but really it's the same side of the coin. That's why we're talking now about converged endpoint management. SIEMs and event managers are, for all intents and purposes, they're the exact same, just different functional structures. One is looking at, security. I need to go fix something because I've got a breach. The other's looking at, I've got to go fix something because I'm losing money because we're down. So.
Yeah. So whatever you're going to do in IT, you got to have that inventory. It's first base for everything.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So why don't you give us a little bit of the overview, or just kind of talk to us, what is the problem Asset's trying to solve for enterprises? We talked on a little bit in the intro, but kind of give us that big picture of what does Asset module do in Tanium?
So Asset fixes one of the early issues we had with Tanium, which was data storage. So we use saved questions to go out and gather information about the endpoint. So all of your endpoints, we pull that information in, we store it into a database, and then we provide it to customers to then integrate into their ITSM solutions. So for instance, ITSC with Salesforce, directly into the ServiceNow CMDB. And we do this all as quickly as possible. So quick story. 350,000 endpoints for one of our customers was taking something in the realm of 16 to 24 hours to get one load into ServiceNow. We looked at the problem, we reviewed it, we worked with some of our ServiceNow experts, our asset subject matter experts, and we came up with a solution that we were able to reduce those 350,000 endpoints and the related items. If you're familiar with the CMDB, that's everything, into 4 hours. So 4 hours for us to search for and find all of and catalog that information. And then not an additional 4 hours, but as soon as that's done, you do the load to ServiceNow, which means we're now doing the question again. So approximately 2 to 3 times a day, we were doing a full load of 350,000 endpoints of data.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I mean, I tell you, on this show, I frequently have these wow moments, and I don't want to sound salesy, right? I just, as a technologist, that just blows me away that you're loading 350,000 endpoint records with all the related attributes, right? So the disks and the software that's installed on those, and all that data is coming in a related format, right? All those relationships are there, and you're doing it in a matter of a few hours. I just have to imagine that's game changing for a lot of enterprises.
Oh, I mean, so I said that I've been doing this for a while, and one of the things that other tools that would take months, and the reason that we're able to do it so quick is the endpoints have our agents on them. I mean, it is the core functionality of Tanium to be able to do speed and scale of any size environment, which translates to even smaller environments. Imagine having 10,000 endpoints and being able to load it 10 times a day into your CMDB or your ITSM solution of choice so that you would have real-time data. We also have the ServiceNow toolkit that was created that gives you just-in-time inventory if 10-hour, if 1 hour loads aren't fast enough. So yeah, it's enterprise of like 100,000 endpoints. It would take us a month and a half, 2 months to get that type of information in. So being able to do it is just amazing.
Wow. Well, you've whet my appetite, and I'm sure our audience is eager to see this. And so, if our audience, if you've not seen Asset before, this is going to be a fantastic experience for you. And along the way, we're going to get to see how some of these bells and whistles work. So, take it away, Tom. Let's walk through it.
Yeah. One thing to mention before we go into the demo, I did want to mention the other capability that we talk about in Asset a lot is the ability to then extend it. So we have core set functionality there, and I'm going to show you some of that as we go into the demo. But that ability to extend into anything that the customer creates. We have a project we're working on for bill of materials on like jar files, as an example. So does it have log4j in it? Those types of things for Asset. And we just extended the product. We didn't go in and do any development work. We just said, hey, let's go put the package down on the endpoint, pull back that information and store it into Asset, and then get some data. So I'm going to show you how we did that in the ServiceNow CMDB. I wanted to kind of tee that up. And I'll also show you how to go in and do that information in the tool itself. So I'm going to go ahead and start there, unless you have any other questions. I know you probably do. I just whet the appetite for that.
I'll just say we've done several shows on creating custom content with Tanium, how to create your own sensors and packages. So what I heard you say is that if there's something that I want in my CMDB and it's not a default sensor in Tanium, out of the hundreds of sensors, if it's not there, you can roll your own with a little bit of scripting, and all of a sudden now that data is coming through Tanium into your CMDB. So you can literally extend it to include I just have to imagine, and again, I'm not in this space, but I just have to imagine other products. It would take a huge lift just to try to get any extra data in there that's not out of the box.
It can be. And we've also made it very simple to push the data to the ServiceNow or ITSC. It's very repeatable. If you're familiar with the Salesforce or ServiceNow platforms, they're extendable. You know that you can go ahead and very quickly add information into them, or create new tables. We've done the same thing with sensors and packages. Like, that's the key. And then Asset is extending that capability. Future of Asset's going to be even more of that extensionable functionality, how to do more metadata into the product, more actions from the product. We've got customers that have been begging for it. We've been listening. We want to do it. So absolutely, the key is being able to do that flexibility that you want in a product without having to wait for developers to do it for you, or heavy on the dev effort, or heavy on the enterprise systems engineers coming in and doing the work for you. So you get some smart people, you're able to figure it out and do it yourself.
Well, I'll just say, as somebody who supported Tanium customers in the field, this was a very popular use case, and it really made a difference for them. So let's take a look. Now, let's dive into the demo.
On the demo, so I went ahead and pre-logged into Tanium. I'm into Asset. So this is the base screen. Normally you don't have the button up there. I like it because I'm going back and forth, and it just saves a couple of clicks. One of the key features of Asset is the reports functionality. You're able to go in and see a report list of all assets. We actually have a customer that uses this for 10, or I think it's like 2,000 employees. Every employee has access to this report. They then have it permissioned, so they only see what they need to know. So they're using it as a tool. Not, they don't give them access to their CMDB. They give them access to the truth, the source of truth.
And so just I want to make sure I understood that correctly. We have a customer who has 2,000 people with console access to Tanium to use Asset. Is that what you said?
That is absolutely what I said. That is,
wow.
They are. I'm in constant communication with them. Their vision for what they want to do with Asset is very aligned with ours, and it's to be a better version of a real-time data source. I don't want to say CMDB because it's not going to be a CMDB. It's going to be different. It can feed a CMDB, but it won't be a CMDB.
All right, well, let's keep going.
Yeah, so reports are just reports. You can, customize columns in reports. You can change these reports. It's all configurable. Just with a moment, you can go in and just change things around and see everything you want. It's the core functionality of what Asset does. It's very similar to what our Data Explorer tool was doing, just a difference in the way that it was created and implemented. And this is the core functionality. So now the aspect of attributes is a functional capability within the tool. This is the adding of your sensor information into Asset. It's called attributes, but this is really what it is. It's just adding those pieces of information. So if I take a look, I can see like the table that I'm going to be adding to. The field is AD query computer attributes. This is a default out of the box sensor that comes with Core. It is not default in Tanium Asset. So we don't actually add this here by default, but customers sometimes want it. Either they have an AD environment and they want to add these pieces of information in. And as you can see, this is all you're doing. You're just adding it to Tanium, and you can then do reports on this. So that's how it's extensible. Any sensor, any information. What we did with the bill of materials is we created a package to go push the information. It was a program that would run and collect the data, put it into a file, and then a sensor would go read the file. We then took that sensor information and put it into Asset that then runs on the scheduled load. So again, that's the 4-hour load time of getting all of that information. A couple of key points: we keep data for 90 days out of the box. We can extend it up to 180 by the defaults. There are ways that we can extend that if needed for on-prem customers, but in general, those are the numbers that we use. So 180 days worth of data. You can know 6 months ago what an endpoint that was online was configured as based upon the sensors at that time.
Well, real quick, scroll through this list just so people get an idea, because I know there's a lot more than just AD stuff in here, right? We've got a ton of other just everyday asset type information in here. Very good.
I'm going to go ahead and go to table view. I think tables a good example because it shows you the network adapter, the patch install state. If I open that up, you can see that, this is the information that we're coming from, and this was just added. I can customize columns, so I can say, is it reserved? And if it doesn't say reserved, then that means someone added this as an example. So this install state was just something that we added to it. And then we can go all the way down, and then, all of the different stuff like threat response tool versions, again, not reserved. This is something that we added.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember one of my customers, they wanted a report of, basic patch compliance on all their endpoints that they could just very quickly reference, and made it very friendly. They didn't have to go into interact and craft a question, use a save question. They could just have it always current right here. It's handy.
Yeah. And this is all, part of Asset. This is just straight up functionality. So once you've got your entities, attributes, and your reports, that's like your day-to-day. I'm just looking at this information. The entities and attributes is just adding that information into the Asset database. We can then go to views. And what views are is a kind of like a report, but bigger. So our reports are based upon the main endpoint data and one related field. So we keep it very, very simple, or one related sensor, I should say. So for instance, you do the endpoint data and all of the network card information is one report type. With views, we open it up to everything. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to find a ServiceNow view. We can't modify the reserved, but I can show you the one that Sakib did. Go in and it shows you all of the different columns that are selected and available for you to push to ServiceNow. And I'll show you how we do the configuration in a second, but this is creating a list of information that we're going to send. And then if you come down here, you can then do more filtering based upon each of those products. So if you didn't want any C drives because you don't care, like that they're all set the same, you don't care about it, you can actually select an attribute and say, I don't want to receive any C drives. Or if you only want C drives to be pushed to the ServiceNow report. It's a silly example, but it's just an example nonetheless of this is the additional filters you can do to remove data from it. The SIU one, normally we will put not installed. Like you don't care if the product isn't installed in your environment. You just care if it is installed. So we'll do a common filter with that.
And just for reference here for folks who aren't on the inside track, SIU stands for what?
Software inventory and usage. So this is the feature we added last year where we're able to collect usage information about specific products so that you can then do reclamation or determine if you've got enough licensing for that product.
Yeah, we did a whole show with that with Roland on that last year. I'll put that link in the show notes here as well as at the end of the credits. You can click over there as well. Yeah, fantastic feature.
Yeah, it is. We've been putting some upgrades to the product in general over the last few months.
I think go ahead and click into that for a second while we're here, while we're talking about it anyway, because I remember one of the biggest use cases for the usage data was to say, all right, well, show me all the endpoints that don't have our AV product installed.
Yep, that was one of them that you could go in and say, show me that information where there's nothing installed or it's not installed. So doing the negative targeting was a huge thing.
Yeah. In addition to just every day, is the user using this expensive software title that we just paid all this money for? And it's time to cinch up our belt on the budget. Let's go see where we can pull it back. Yeah.
Amazingly, the expensive software hasn't been as much of a big use case. It is out there. I'm seeing that that's kind of a trend, but we still have I guess you could say the dirty dozen of licensing of like, here's the top 12 things that you license that cost you the most money.
Yeah. Well, before the clock gets away from us here, let's flip over to these destinations. I know that's where you want to go next because you teased us a little bit saying that, hey, we can take this data and populate external CMDB solutions. So let's take a look at that a little bit.
So a destination is really just, a destination. Where do I want to send this information? So this is a ServiceNow destination. We've got a host URL. This one's just Vin05. It's a vendor ServiceNow instance, username, password, and then we go to the mappings. So the thing about the mappings is, there's the ServiceNow. This is the mapping view, and what we're going to do is say this is the information we're pulling from the views, and then I've got all of these different locations that I can send. So CMDB CI Computer is a location in ServiceNow, and we can add as we go, and then we start building how we want to push that information in. Like, this is how we do it. It's a configurable process. So this is how you add additional data to ServiceNow from Tanium. You take the information of what you have and you put it into where you want to go. So it's just really a mapping. That's all you're doing. Super straightforward.
And to be clear, out of the box, those mappings are already there for the default columns, right?
100%. Like, the straight up ServiceNow mappings are there. It's 100% available. This is just how you can extend that. And then you update it. And then we go into ServiceNow. I'm going to go ahead and log in. And I'm going to go over here to computers. And you called back Roland. So I'm going to type in Roland's name because Roland has a lot of information. This is where he's been doing a lot of testing. And this is where we can show you some of that BOM data that we get. And I'll just click into the computer. I'm gonna actually make this bigger.
So for those who aren't familiar with BOM and bill of materials, can you give us just a quick understanding of what that means?
So I think it's better if I kind of show you.
Okay.
So in this situation, the package type was a Java archive, and we found Access Bridge, which has a possible CPE. So there's that. If we come down, we can see other things like ASM analysis, ASM tree. This is programmer packages. This is where log4j came from, right? So if there was a log4j, it would be in this bill of materials. We're just pushing all of this information up with the versions that are there. And so now you can do a search that says when the next log, 4K comes out or whatever, you can go and say, does any of my bill of materials have log 4K? And immediately within the interface or within Tanium, find that information, create your change tickets, and say, hey, we need to update this stuff as quick as possible. And that's really the idea of the bill of materials that's coming out. This has already been demoed to a couple of customers. We've had proof of concepts. It's now being scheduled. Like, this is not like a pie in the sky type of thing. This is something that we absolutely want to do.
So let me clarify there. This is not production yet. Okay, because I thought I was missing out on something. Like, when did we add that?
No, we didn't. This will be another Ashley meeting, right?
All right,
to do another one.
All right. Yeah, that's super cool, because if we click on from the left there, the network adapters, the storage devices, file systems, I've seen all this where we've got these related CIs, these data storage areas, right? And so we populate all that in a related fashion as it comes in. So that's super powerful.
And this SIU usage is added to as well. So this isn't out of the box. This is something that we added as like that configuration we were telling you about. Like, this is things that we are doing. And so whenever you get the SIU data, you can actually see that Adobe Acrobat Pro DC is normal usage, like last used in 823.
Nice. So, and that's out today. That's in product today.
So SIU usage is in product today. The mapping is not. So this is a testing thing that we're doing, is how do we get that information in when asked? The bill of materials is in testing and stuff like that. So again, all of this information came from Tanium. This isn't coming from anywhere in ServiceNow. This is purely Tanium information that we're able to push in. And again, super, super fast. Probably the fastest I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot of different discovery tools. I've worked on 3 personally in my consulting career, and this one's assets kind of discovery. It's an inventory, if you will, and then we've also got the discovery product, which is a different topic entirely.
Well, man, this has been a great tour. Is there anything else that you want to make sure we cover here before we wrap up?
No, I think this is it. We truly want to be the safe source of all information, and then to be able to export it out. So the idea is speed and scale. Let's get you the information as fast as possible. Let's provide you an interface that makes sense. Being in a place like ServiceNow or ITSC means that you can create tickets against it, and you know that it's accurate. And accuracy is key. You mentioned it at the beginning. If you don't know what you have, then you can't really troubleshoot it. And knowing things like it's a Windows 10 with no service pack is more important than knowing that its name is Roland Tazdev. Like that, those are things that can help you troubleshoot faster, and then just getting information like RAM size and things like that. Just again, 100% helpful. And then to be able to use something like Salesforce or ServiceNow to go in and find information like this. Like, I can do a search of where's Adobe Acrobat DC on all of my endpoints, and then create a change ticket against that. So
go back, if you don't, I'm sorry, go back to the destinations, because we talked about ServiceNow there. Can you show us some of the other destinations as well? Because I know we've got more than just ServiceNow.
So if I create a destination, we can also do a Flexera destination. So that's an out-of-the-box destination that we can push to. We use information so that they use our agent to collect data about what is the software installed on the endpoint instead of their agent. So this is a partnership we have where we're able to provide them the data so that their agent doesn't have to be rolled out. So those are the two destinations at the moment, Flexera and ServiceNow.
So for people who may not have, smaller shops may not have a formal CMDB solution where they're tracking all their assets, Tanium can kind of be that for them. But then if you're a larger shop and you've got Flexera, ServiceNow, Salesforce, one of these other larger asset management solutions, we can populate that for the rest of the company. Or you can just give 2,000 people direct access to the asset, right?
Yeah, there's that. And then also keep in mind that, Asset doesn't have to have the destination. You can also use Connect to send information out.
Mm-hmm.
There's multiple ways that you can get information out of Tanium. So this is just one of the ones that are there. We are wanting to extend this. We don't want it to be just Flexera and ServiceNow. We can see benefits of sending it to another SQL server, sending it to other ITSM solutions. Like we don't have to just focus on those two, Salesforce and ServiceNow. Salesforce is it's more of a pull methodology that we've got created right now, where ServiceNow is the push.
Well, Tom, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. I've seen a few things I've not seen before in Asset, so thank you. I really appreciate it. Yeah,
for being an old tool, like an old module, it's always nice to see some new stuff out of it.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so thanks for joining us on the show today, Tom, and thank you all for watching. So today we learned about Tanium Asset, how you can get complete, accurate inventory of all your managed endpoints, right? Hardware, software data. You can integrate it with your ITSM, CMDB type solutions, and you get all this at the speed and scale of Tanium that you've come to know and love. And, it wouldn't be a complete show if I didn't get in a plug for Converge. Coming up November 14th through the 17th, I'm going to be there, and I hope that you'll be there too. Austin, Texas. Now, you can sign up for remote pass to watch some things online, right? But it's not like being there in person, getting to meet people like Tom and the SMEs that you've seen on the show. You get to meet them in person, do the hands-on labs. So I really encourage you to go out to converge.tanium.com and go ahead and sign up. And also, if you've built something really cool with Tanium that you'd like to show other people and tell them about, we'd love to hear it. And we have a number of slots still open for customers. We've got lots of great customers who are going to be showing you. It's show and tell. This is what we made Tanium do. And look how it saved us all this time. And it was so helpful. So come watch those sessions as well. There's so much to get out of it. We hope we see you there this coming November. So that wraps up our episode today of Go-Tanium Tech Talks, talking about the asset module. And thank you, Tom, for this tour. And until next time, Go-Tanium.